don't know. I think I keep worrying that like eventually people are going to get bored of us and like stop showing up. But we're always keeping it fresh, and there's so much talent in this city. It blows me away.
Scared rabbit, they've got you boxed in. Old habit, you draw the curtain. Lonely only if they ever leave.
Hello, my name is Michael Zarek, and this is Third Space Indy. In 1989, a man named Ray Oldenburg wrote a book called The Great Good Place. And in this book, he coined the term the third place. This describes a place that is outside of your home and outside of your work, that you can go be with others and build community. So I've made it my goal to find people all over Indianapolis who are doing their very best to create these types of spaces. Today, I'm joined by a musician, a music teacher, an artist, and an organizer of a very large local event, which we will be talking about extensively, I'm sure. And I'm really excited to introduce my guest today, Hannah Hadley.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Well, you fake it till you make it.
Oh my God. So for anybody who may not know who you are, what you're about, and what you do, let them know.
Yeah, so Hannah Rachel Hadley. I organize Indy Gay Market.
Mm-hmm.
And my day job includes a lot of teaching of arts and also a little bit of music. So yeah, whenever I meet somebody new and I have to explain how I make money, it's the most convoluted, kind of annoying.
Are people confused about how music teachers deserve to live?
Well, I do music teaching like almost full time.
Yeah.
And then I do other stuff like part time too. So it's like it's a patchwork quilt of things, you know.
Beautiful analogy. So I want to dive right into something we mentioned just before starting, which was that there's competing forces in Indianapolis. There are two Hannah Hadleys,
Yes.
and you have a story about this.
So yeah, recently, last couple years, it started like I started getting emails like from random people, and I'd be like, I have no idea what they're talking about, and like I don't know why I'm getting this message. And the folks at downtown Indy told me, they were like, hey, did you know there's like another Hannah Hadley? And I was like, no. They're like, yeah, she works at Big Car. And she's
so it's relevant.
Yeah, so she's their grant writer.
Oh my God.
And like does lots of other stuff at Big Car. So we're both like in this very small Indianapolis, like organizing like art stuff, you know? So people will confuse us a lot. Or like send something to me that's actually.
Do you have like a similar email address?
I don't think so. I mean, like I'm Hannah at indygaymarket.com, but yeah, I don't know. But we met like a couple weeks ago, and it was like so funny to just be like, hey.
Are you both blonde?
No.
Is there any like connecting force other than like being artistic or in the art scene?
I don't really think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
She seems really nice.
Yeah.
And people seem to like her, and so that's cool. They're the loved Hannah Hadley, but she recently got married and like added like the
like a hyphen.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that hasn't really helped that much.
That's so funny. You're like, why am I? It's like, I was looking at my messages to text you later for a reminder, and I looked back a couple messages where you sent me a text. I was like, hey, Michael, can't wait to see you tomorrow. And I was like, did I miss a meeting a couple of weeks ago? I was like, no.
Yeah. So I mixed you up with another Michael.
Yeah.
And was like texting the wrong person, which I never do that, which so it's really funny.
All Michaels are the same, probably.
All the mixes up. So yeah, no, I was meeting with a Michael that afternoon that we like talked, and so yeah, it was just very confusing.
So the reason I asked you on, and I think will be the brunt, is that the right word? The mass, the most of our conversation is about Indy Gay Market. And I asked you a question also before we started, which is that, is it Indy Big Gay Market, or is it just Big Gay Market? And you said there's a story about that, sort of.
Yeah, so it's always started as the Big Gay Market. You know, artists within Indianapolis came up with this concept of like, wouldn't it be cool if we all sort of joined together and had a market that was all gay, queer identifying people? And so it was really this like collective effort to create this thing. Well, big gay markets are sort of a national phenomenon too. So something I did when I started running the events was sort of distinguish ourselves as like, well, one, I didn't want to like run into copyright stuff. I don't understand that. I didn't want that to be an issue if like our organization name was like Big Gay Market and like that was already like claimed by something. But if you look up Big Gay Market, like you'll find them in different states and different, like, I mean, I'm sure they're organized a lot differently than here, but I knew that if we only had that name, it would cause a lot of confusion. So then we created Indy Gay Market as sort of our organizational name. And so that's who we are as an organization. We are Indy Gay Market. And then our events are still the Big Gay, whatever it is, you know?
Understand.
So, and that's been fine. And that there has been some confusion though. One time a Big Gay Market in like Wyoming or something got canceled. Like,
and then like,
and people were like messaging me, and I was like, no, that's like not our event. Like,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of cancellations, kind of, this upcoming weekend has been a little stressful for you. Can we talk about that situation? I'm interested.
Sure.
So your upcoming Big Gay Market, this is coming out 2 weeks from now, so we'll be actually just ahead of the next one.
Yeah.
But the one this weekend is at Memorial Circle downtown. And Spark, which is the downtown quarter circle temporary park, was supposed to be set up and now it's not.
Yes.
And that has affected your market a little bit.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So there's been a ton of rain lately. So when this happened, I was kind of like not surprised, but I guess there's some construction going on Market Street, and because of all the rain, it got delayed. Because of that being delayed, they can't like load in all of the tons of gear to set up Spark. So I think it's supposed to be able to open June 1st now, so it's like just barely missing it. But yeah, it got pushed back, and it's kind of just one of those situations where it's like, it's not really anything we can do. We can't like, you know, speed things up that much. So, but honestly, you use the word stress, and I'm actually not that stressed. No offense to Spark in any way, but we're kind of the main event. So,
hell yeah.
You know, Spark is a perk. It's a huge perk. It's a great park.
And they still close the circle for you.
Yeah, we're still shutting down the circle. Like, I don't see it affecting us so much. So I think it's going to be okay. It's definitely unfortunate because this is our only event on Monument Circle this year. We used to do 2, and then people were like, it's really hot and we would love to do an indoor event in the summer. And I was like, that makes sense. We should, yeah. I'll listen.
I'll listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're not stressed. Yeah. And it did make sense that like you're not. It doesn't affect you so much because like I've worked I worked it last year at the Circle, and like
it's a really like chill, cool event.
And also Spark's only a fourth of it, and you guys take up the entirety. So yeah.
And there's been construction on the Circle like all of last year, and so that's gone. So for me, I'm just excited that you could actually get on the steps. Like, like great. You could actually be on the monument for the first time in like a year.
Yeah. And the weather this weekend looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Which is
so
then like
super excited for that. especially after, the past
Yeah.
like 6 days or whatever.
Yeah.
So you mentioned sort of the loose origin of the Big Gay Market
Mhm.
here. What was it like? What were like the early conversations like? How did you, because it's so ubiquitous now, like people just are like, oh, this one's coming up, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna show out,
Mhm.
and like it's a really cool thing. But like, what was it like in the very beginning when you're just getting started and you're trying to gather people, or like what were the conversations like in terms of the origin of it?
Yeah. Well, the event was started by Megan Curran.
I know that name.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you probably do. So she was the like person who spearheaded the first. I don't want to misquote, but I would say like 4 or 5 markets that we did, and they were kind of like spontaneous, like whenever we could kind of get it together and do things. So there was like the very first one, and me and my ex-wife were involved. So like I wasn't a part of organizing it, I was just a vendor. And then my ex-wife, she's a DJ, so she DJ'd and then I was vending, and it was very fun and cute, and we were right next to each other. It was really, so
How many vendors,
at the gay market.
Sorry, how many vendors were at the those first few? Was it like, I'm assuming it wasn't like extremely large like it was now.
It was not extremely large. I would say like 50 to 60. Yeah.
That's still pretty big.
Still pretty big, yeah. So yeah, I was just a vendor, and I was involved, and yeah, they were kind of spontaneous and loosely themed events, and they were wonderful. I mean,
are they still themed now?
Yes. Now they're very like thoroughly themed, I would say. I have like a whole schedule. So that's part of my theory, is that people like predictability. So
I agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think part of my story and why I even am doing this was because of why, like, how the original event was just so special for me and my partner, to be in a like queer group of people. We were both like newly out. So it really was one of the first places that we were in a public space, kind of being like,
well, together.
Yeah, we're both together.
And
like
capital T together sort of thing.
Yeah. So my ex-partner is trans. So we were married, and then she transitioned in our, like, while we were married. And so while I was like out to my friends and family as like a bisexual woman, I wasn't like super like public out, and that's like kind of complicated, I'm sure, for a lot of bisexual people who are like maybe not outwardly in like a queer looking relationship. So when my partner came out and was like, I'm a woman, we both came out, in a very public way. And so the Big Gay Market was sort of this first time where we're like this is who we are, and this is our community. And it was wonderful. It was really healing, and it was really cool to start connecting more with that community. And yeah, I'm still doing it. So yeah.
How did you get roped into running it? ?
Yeah. Megan.
Maybe you roped yourself in. Who's to say?
I did. Megan moved away for a little bit to New York, and it was public that she was going to move, and so I had just sent her a message, basically being like, "Hey, do you have any plans on like continuing, this event? Like, it's really cool. I would love to make sure it still happens." And basically, she was like, "Here's the baton.
Take it. I don't want it anymore."
Yeah. So I guess I was like lucky ? In that way, like I had not really previously been an event organizer, and then I just kind of learned through trial by fire, like just figured it out. And she gave me a lot of tools
Yeah.
and definitely like didn't like set me up for success for the first one that I did. And then, just kind of took it from there. And then my team kind of grew around me as I continued to keep going and keep making events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. You use the word, well, actually you said, this is our community or something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also when I first reached out to you, you said, I like to describe the Indy Gay Market as a third space in its own way.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like that in essence, sort of what it means as a community event or space for people to show up?
Yeah. I mean, even though there's obviously like things being sold and like it's a marketplace, it's free to come and just be there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just come to the gay market and hang out for a while, and just be in that space. And I truly believe in that power of like it's not totally about the transactions that are happening. It's also about just being in a space that is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And also as an artist, when I go to a market, a lot of time I'm not always buying things, but I'm talking to people, I'm making connections. I get to see the artist like face to face and interact with them. And I think that's really, really special, and something that we're really trying to preserve in what we're doing is like you and your art can like are this one thing, and like letting people connect with you, and also the visibility of that too. So it's really cool. I think as a person who sells things, I much prefer selling to people like in real life. Like I don't really do like online sales that much.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much better to be able to like meet the person that's going to buy the thing that I made and talk to them about it, and like, have that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can take that thing that I spent hours and hours on for.
And you're like, oh, there goes my baby.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I think a lot about this concept of like exclusionary space, because early on in the podcast, I talked about what it means for third spaces to be inclusionary,
Mm-hmm.
or like accepting of everyone. And one of my early guests said to me that all spaces are exclusionary. It's just a matter of who they're excluding. And you mentioned like being in this space that is made for queer folks of all kinds, and like how important that is in terms of like comfort and visibility and all those types of things. And I don't know that I have a question necessarily, but do you have any thoughts about what it means to be out and about and visible?
Yeah, I do. I mean, well, first, the Big Gay Market is also for allies. You're welcome.
Yeah. Exclusionary in terms of like we don't accept
Obviously.
bigots here.
Yeah, we will exclude those types of people, but allies are totally welcome. But I think my experience is very much like because of my like love story with a trans person, and seeing how that journey is really hard for a lot of folks, and they feel very alone. That to walk into a space and there are 20 trans women just existing and just being people in that space is healing. And to walk into a space and see a bunch of non-binary people, a bunch of trans men, just being people, loving who they love, enjoying their life, making art. I think that's something that people really need. And even though Indy is like the smallest big city in the world,
Really? I think I know everyone who lives here.
Our lives can be very, very isolating, and unless you seek out community, you can really not have a community. And I think that queer people really need to have spaces where we're filling that space. Like, it's mostly us, like, I think, like even a Pride festival now is sort of like, it's a lot of like allies. Like, it's not like just queer people at Pride, right? So the Big Gay Market is like a little bit different because, I technically can't say that we require vendors to be a part of the community, but we can curate and we do basically prioritize that above all else. Like that, vendors are a part of the community. And so that when you walk into that space and you look at all those vendors, that these are people who have lived queer experience,
Mm-hmm. I also want to make a weird analogy.
Yeah.
So I think a lot about pedestrian infrastructure. Sorry, I'll get there.
Love it.
And there's when I think about like people's personal hatred for cyclists, a lot of it has to do with like lack of experience existing in space with cyclists and cycling infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And like, I see these videos of like dudes in Ford F-150s like shouting at a cyclist being like, fuck you, this lane is made for me, that type of thing. And I just think that like part of that hatred and like spite comes from lack of experience in existing in space with those things. And to complete the circle of like just having visibility on like, hey, these people are out here, they exist, they are just like you and me. Mm-hmm. And like just getting experience with existing in space with them is how you sort of close the loop on the bigotry and like how you pull in more allies in a way.
Absolutely. And that's like part of why I'm super passionate about like when we have our events on Monument Circle, because we get all these random people who are just downtown. Yeah. And they're like wandering into this like amazing event. And kind of like my favorite question is when people are like, what is this? I think that exposure is really good. It's really good for the community as a whole. We also get a lot of that at the AMP, which we do most of our indoor events at, because it's just like a place that people go eat. Mm-hmm. There's tons of people who just like come to the AMP on the weekend that we have an event just to get some food, and then they're like, wait, what? Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And I think that like it, yeah, like that visibility and like people like actually experiencing like, oh, like there's just like these people who are like making cool like art and like crafts and things that I would want to buy. Like maybe some things they wouldn't want to buy, but like but yeah, like I think that's part of what we do as a market, as a like a bigger vision for what we could do for the community is just the greater visibility and giving people exposure. So yeah,
definitely. One last Big Gay Market plug. The week that this episode is coming out is your largest market ever.
Yeah.
At White River State Park.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So we've been like tangentially, like very like sort of involved in Indy Pride was our fiscal sponsor for many, many years. And we just recently got our own 501c3 status. So now they're not our fiscal sponsor, but and we never like officially like got a good collaboration going with them for Pride Festival, even though like we would basically like do our own Pride on our own. Mm-hmm. And then last year was our first attempt to actually collaborate with them. They did Celebration on the Circle, yeah, and Word of Mouth, and that didn't go very well, at least from the organizational team's perspective on both sides. So, but it was a good attempt to start like getting that going. So this year, there were some members of the Pride board that were like very much like screaming, we have to get Indy Gay Market involved, and like not just like a little like trial collab, like every year, like we need to have them at Pride every year.
That seems like an obvious
like like this is like we are literally like not like we're I don't know, like we're a pretty popular market, like we like every time
hey listen, lift yourself up.
Okay,
I would say so.
Yeah, like every time we have an event, I don't know why, but people show up. Like a lot of people. So yeah, that was kind of like in the works, and so they got in contact with us, and I was like, well, yeah, we've just been waiting for you guys to ask us. So Pride is gonna look a lot different this year, but it's also gonna look kind of similar to like the old historic. And so they are going back to Military Park, which is like the place they typically had it.
Yeah, like where the war monument is, that type thing. From there to the Central Library.
No, not.
Am I wrong? Where's
yeah.
Military Park?
It's like behind the Indiana State Museum, I would say.
Oh, okay. Wait,
but really,
so it's like adjacent to
IUPUI campus.
Yeah,
we
so
have
it's
a
like
lot
adjacent.
we have a lot of cool parks downtown.
Yeah. Wonderful green. Okay, wait. I have to do a small tangent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was out. My wife and I walked to the zoo like a week and a half ago.
Oh yeah.
We rode the red line to the State House and walked to the zoo. White River State Park is some of the nicest like green space of all time, and that day was gorgeous. One of my biggest issues with Indianapolis is that we have this beautiful space and no one uses it. It's like, oh, please, even like over here where we are at the Indy Art Center, like look at this beautiful like greenery space. Like why isn't there someone holding a picnic here?
Yeah.
All that said, we start like a picnic culture here in Indianapolis. Sorry, I just had to scream it out.
No, it's such a good point because White River State Park is one of my favorite areas of Indianapolis with the bridge and all of that. And then you've got the like cool little like stairs that go down to the river. It's just a gorgeous space. So there's still going to be things going on in the normal Pride space, but that's going to be more like music festival vibes. There's a $10 ticket, or I guess it's going to be $15 after June 1st, so $15 ticket.
So there's like a music aspect to...
Yeah.
Wait.
And that's starting...
Is that the Pride part?
Yeah,
Okay.
at Pride Festival. So like, and that's starting at like 6 p.m. So it's like, it's later. But for the most part, the footprint of Pride is going to be in White River Park, and it's all free. So that whole element is going to be free. There's going to be a stage on that side too. So there's going to be music and different things, but there's going to be like a family zone in front of like the Idle Jorg, and like a sober space in the gardens by Idle Jorg, and then we will be taking over like all of Celebration Plaza in White River, and then there'll be vendors even like along the bridge as well. So
that's really cool.
It's going to be amazing.
I've always thought there should definitely be like a hot dog guy on the bridge at all times.
I agree. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm stoked. We're going to have almost 150 vendors, that is the biggest we've ever done. I think our biggest events so far have been around 100 per day. Which
so it's 150 per day, or is it?
Yeah. So we Pride
Saturday,
Festival,
Sunday.
we've almost pretty much filled. It's about, I think we're at like 125 or something. So we're really close. And then we'll be setting up again on Sunday for Pet Pride, which I think a lot of people are kind of confused about how Pet Pride works. But basically, like, Pet Pride has been like a whole separate event that like happens on a different weekend for the most part. But like super popular in its own way in Indianapolis. And they decided, they were like, well, that's really silly. That
Is pet an acronym, or does it just mean smaller version?
No, like you bring your pet to Pride. Yeah.
I did not know that.
like it's all like that's the thing is like it's Pride, but with all everybody's pets.
That makes it probably more enjoyable.
Yeah, I think like there's definitely like a type of person that's like, I'm not going to normal pride, but I'm going to pet pride, obviously. So yeah, that used to be kind of like a separate thing. And so what we're trying to do is like actually combine it into like one weekend of festivities and also take advantage of all of the rentals and different things that we have booked out on White River.
Yeah.
So Pride Festival is happening Saturday, and then Sunday is Pet Pride happening in the White River Park, the same space that Indy Gay Market will be in. So we have like a smaller group of vendors that day. I think we're at like, we have like 80 signed up for that day. So it wasn't quite as popular as like Pride, you know. We get it, but yeah. So we'll still have a little footprint that day, and it'll be fun.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
One last thing, because I think that I know Indy Gay Market is a giant group effort. Any shout outs to give specifically for this year that are like some big helpers that you've had?
Well, my marketing team is pretty awesome. I've got Carly Valentine and Amanda Marie Bell has been helping us out. And so they've been doing all of the posters for all of our events, and they do way too much for way too little, probably. But I also have a larger team now that we're a 501c3. We have like official board. So my vice president, her name's Jay Drew, and she is like my rock, and I don't think I could do what we do at this large of a scale now without her. So she's helping out with everything, keeping me organized while I organize. And then we have Quinn Taylor, who is pretty active in the community. They are like director of development on our board. And Faith Wheat, who is our board secretary. And then Angie Drew is our secretary, or our treasurer. So that core group is my lifeline. And then we have an even bigger team beyond that of people who have just very generously been like, hey, Hannah, this is a really cool event. Like, how do I help you?
Yeah.
And I've just been like, yes.
Please help me.
Please help. and yeah, we've just like kind of figured it out from there. So I think it's really important when you're doing something like this large that like you're not the only voice in the room. And so I lean on my team a lot, and like I'm asking them constantly, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Like, so I have a nice like sounding board of like opinions, and yeah. So it's shout out to my team. You're awesome.
Shout out to the team.
Also shout out to my ex-wife, Winnie Maxwell. She is also one of my rocks. Her and I, when I started running the market, like kind of we're like doing it together, and then it was very clear, like she was like, this is very much more like your thing. She's like, but she's always supported me and like helped out with like anything I've needed, and still to this day like is like, oh, do you need me to like drive 12 tents to the circle on Saturday? Okay, great, I'll come pick them up, you know, like. So yeah, she's awesome and has always been a big support of the market, and yeah, we still work very closely together. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for answering.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your band.
Okay. You
said you play guitar.
Yeah.
You said you sing.
Yeah.
Which is dope in both cases. What is the name of the band?
It's called Sonia.
Sonia?
Yeah, just...
Is that named after someone or just...
No.
Okay.
We really like the name, like the concept of like a mono, what is it, like one word. Mm-hmm. And it's a girl band, so we wanted it to just be like a woman's name. And so I think that's kind of how we came up with Sonia. But then there's been all these other like cool things where we're like validated of like, yeah, that was the right name, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah.
How did you get started in this band? Like, how long have you been playing music? I mean, you're a music teacher.
Yeah.
So you've been playing music for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there was just like a, hey, because I don't know how to ask the question, but like,
Yeah.
how did this all form?
Yeah. Well, I've been playing in bands. Like I went to college in IU Bloomington, at IU Bloomington, and then so I was kind of like involved in the punk scene there and played in several bands. And I had a project called Spacer for many years that kind of like slowly was dying around the time that Sonia formed. And I was playing this house show in Indianapolis as Spacer. I was just doing like a solo thing where I just like sang over my music. Like it was really like a grungy sort of thing. Like dancing around and just singing on to a tape mix of stuff I made. And one of the future members of Sonia saw that set and was like, hey, I'm trying to form a band and we need a singer. Would you like...
They're like, I didn't like the taste, but your voice was awesome.
Well, yeah. And she's like, me and my friend, we've been writing music. But we don't have any lyrics and we don't have any like anybody to sing. So like, can I send you them? And like, you see what you think, which like, if anyone else is a singer, that's like your dream come true, is like someone just being like, here, I have all this music. Could you just like write words and sing on it? Like, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. But the even funnier thing was that they were trying to form a band because they really wanted to play this pool party.
Wait, how soon?
Yeah.
They're like, we got to form in the next 3 weeks.
Like, I think we had like a couple months.
Okay.
It wasn't so crazy, but yeah, like they were just like, yeah, this one band, they're really cool and we really want to play with them, and we got invited to do this pool party and we really want to do it. And I was like, okay. I think like Oreo Jones was involved. He was like playing this pool party.
Oh. Well, that's why they wanted to be there.
Yeah, probably. But that's essentially why we formed, and it's pretty funny.
Is this like you said girl band, but is it like punk?
Yeah.
Like Bad Hats type thing, or?
I would say like it was a little like post-punk influences. We're kind of all over the place. I really like Talking Heads, like maybe a little bit of like whatever that is. Yeah, it's definitely punk.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What about like, I don't know what to ask. I'm not a music guy.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I think so. All of my questions are always sort of based in this foundation of like community building and stuff like that. And I think that there's something to be said. This topic has come up a couple of times, which is like, not only the death of the third space, but the death of the like house party or the house show.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're still finding good gigs at houses that are just like kind of crunchy, or kind of like a little in a dank basement somewhere or anything like that? Or do you feel like that's actually just like something that we need to bring back?
Yeah, I haven't played a house show in probably 3 or 4 years, probably.
Yeah.
So, and then locally, not in a while. And I haven't been to one in a while locally. So, is it dying? Do we need to bring it back?
Or
yes.
the other dynamic here is that we are old now, and like I think it's still happening, but we just don't know about it because no one wants to ask us.
I absolutely believe in that. I think that's probably true. I don't know how big of like house show scene Indy really had.
Well, like Bloomington, I went to like a ton of random people's homes.
Yeah. I would say most of the house shows that I've played in Indianapolis have actually been like more like living room shows, like not like in the basement, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it could potentially, it's either it is happening, we just don't know about it, or yeah, it could come back.
If you, for some reason, are listening to this and you know about house shows, please reach out to me.
Yeah.
I want to know about if they exist at all.
And ask Sonia to play one. Please.
And ask Sonia to play. I'll hook you up with a gig. We're going to move on to what I call the canned questions.
Okay.
do have to read my sponsor. This is why I charged my laptop for this one moment. Third Space Indy is sponsored by City Rising, a social impact studio. Most recently, they implemented an eviction data dashboard that looks to highlight and reduce the impact of the over 30,000 evictions, mostly affecting Black and Latino women and children Indianapolis faces every year. Learn more at cityrising.org. City Rising has sponsored a question, which is, what is a third space to you?
It's like somewhere you can be around people, but you don't necessarily have to interact with them. I would say.
I like that.
Yeah. I'd say that's part of it for me. Like I'm an art teacher, so I also feel like art classes are this really cool third space for a lot of people, where you get to be around people that you wouldn't normally be around, and you're all like learning something new. And I think that that's like a really special space. But
yeah, so you teach textiles, which just means, for those listening, it's like fabrics or like wools or cottons, that type of thing. If you don't know, I don't know.
Fiber arts.
Fiber arts.
Yeah.
What is it about, like, what do you find compelling about that type of medium?
When I discovered textiles, it was actually because I was trying to take a ceramics class that got canceled.
So it was your fallback. You're like, oh, dang it.
I was like, I guess I'll take this class. So it was a happy accident, and I just like, it was like everything that I loved combined, where you can, textiles can be very sculptural. They are typically like created through some sort of very methodical process, very labor intensive. And you can approach it from all different aspects. So, you can be working with fabrics that you've bought, or you can be working with fabrics that you literally created from the ground up. So a lot of like fiber artists experiment with that. And I'm one of the people that's like very interested in like the sort of sculptural element of fiber arts. When I was in art school, I did a lot of like performance art with fiber. That was it was like I was doing performance art, but then like fiber was sort of like the extra thing besides the performance. So I just like, I loved how flexible it was as an art form. And I've just met a lot of really cool, wonderful people being a fiber artist. And yeah.
It's like such a, like, to me, like ceramics or stained glass or painting are like such obvious art forms, but you don't think of like clothing or textiles as like a thing that people spend a ton of time doing. And so like to hear you talk about it with such like positive sentiment, I think is really nice.
Yeah.
So you do more sculptural stuff rather than like clothing?
Oh, I make lots of clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think part of the like compelling aspect to it for you is the ability to create your own clothing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think as someone who's like very interested in textures and color and different things, like the ability to just make your own shirt or pants, and then like the fact of it, it's like you made it and it feels really special to you, and then you get to wear it. So it's not like a painting you put on the wall. It's like a painting you get to like wear to work. I really like that aspect of it. But I'd say like most of my clothing creation is personal. Like it's like just my fun therapy thing, I'm not like putting them in a art gallery. I'm like, this is a shirt I made.
A couple of months ago, it's still there. One of them is still there, but at Newfields they had like a dress exhibit. And it was so cool. Like because it was from, oh no, my wife is not going to be happy that I forget. Not RuPaul's, is it RuPaul's Drag Race?
Drag Race?
Maybe it was like something to do with I think it was drag focused dresses, and they were so sick.
Cool.
And like the ability to like create these it is an art form, like these beautiful forms that evoke a certain emotion or like thought or memory, that type of thing, or I think is really interesting and cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree. I think drag is a place where a lot of like cool costuming can exist that can't exist other places. You can get really minute, or you can get really bizarre and totally get away with it and be celebrated for it. I love that. It's awesome.
There was one that looked like a suit of armor or something, or at least that was what it was trying to like evoke, and I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
You should all just wear armor around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Follow-up question to the previous question, which is, what is a third space or place that has existed for you previously but no longer does?
Churches. Yeah.
Were you raised like Catholic or a separate?
I was raised non-denominational Christian. I went to Grace Community Church in, I think it's Noblesville.
Yeah.
And when I went to college, I definitely like fell away from all that. I like tried to go to church in college, and like I just realized that my mental health was like way better when I didn't.
I remember being a freshman in college, my mom was like, Michael, there's a Catholic church over here. Go meet a nice Catholic girl. I remember that conversation.
Yeah. And like, so, and then obviously like, I like kind of came out to myself like later in life. Like I was probably like 18 or 19 when I realized like, oh, I'm queer. Like, I was so like Christian that like I describe it to people like I didn't have a sexuality as like a teenager.
Oh, interesting.
Like,
it was just like no thought in your brain.
No, just like I was asexual like completely.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like get to explore my sexuality till like I was like a full grown adult. And then it just really complicated my faith. And I know a lot of like gay and queer people do have like a faith practice and go to church and do all that, but I don't know why, but like as a bisexual, like it's almost like harder.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah. Like I feel like when you're like I'm a full gay, and then like I can like accept this, but it's like almost like it was just so hard like growing up, because like when you're bisexual, it's like you get the like hyper Christian person being like, well, why don't you just choose to, like, to not, just choose the person that's not gay to love.
Yeah.
Like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen that way.
That's an interesting dynamic that like, is there
yeah. So there's a lot of like still like I feel like that's a place where there's a lot of shame I have to like fight, and it almost became a place where it affected my mental health. Like I would try to go to a church service and I would like have a panic attack.
I don't think that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I think
yeah. Do you not
this
to
is not for me. Yeah.
And please don't answer if the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any like positive associations with church if you think of it as a third space originally, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Singing.
The origin story.
Absolutely. Singing is really, really, I love that. And I actually was a part of the Indianapolis Women's Chorus for a few years. And they meet in like a church and do their practices in a church. And that was, I think, part of my like healing journey. Was like being a part of that group and singing songs of like hope and joy and like but having a lot more like radical like group. Like they're very like social, like they're very politically, I would say they were a very politically active choir, and there was a lot of like really passionate cool old ladies in that choir I love, and a lot of young people, and it's a very queer friendly choir. It was actually sort of the twin to the Indianapolis men's chorus, which is sort of I don't think it's like exclusively gay male choir at this point in time, but it definitely started as like a gay male
Oh, that's
choir.
interesting.
And so the Indianapolis women's chorus was the lesbian choir that was like their twin. And they both kind of started during when the AIDS epidemic was hitting Indianapolis in like the 90s. So they're both really, really cool groups that people should support. And that was a little tangent.
The Indianapolis
Sorry.
men's chorus and the Indianapolis women's chorus.
Yes.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure I got that right.
If anybody wants to sing in a choir, great places to be.
I almost joined. I was like a theater kid in waiting. It just like never happened.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain. Like, I almost did plays. I almost did like performance art. I almost joined like multiple singing groups in college.
Yeah.
Just never. Man, I was too afraid, basically.
Yeah.
Never manifested in that way. So I could definitely see how that could be like a wonderful experience to have had.
Yeah.
Every episode, transition. Every episode, I ask a question from the previous guest. The previous guest for this episode was City County Councilor Jesse Brown of District 13, or wait, City County Councilor of District 13, comma, Jesse Brown. There we go. He asks, I'm going to get the exact phrasing. I wrote it down. What is a rule that you wish would go away in people's hearts, not only the law?
Whoa. Okay. In people's hearts.
Yeah, so like in America, I'm going to give you an example. I didn't answer the question, but
Okay.
I wish there was not such a taboo against eating insects.
Okay.
That's a wonderful, environmentally friendly food source to an extent. And people may not like that, but that's a rule I think people should get away from. Other cultures do it. Cultures eat insects.
Mm-hmm.
So like just something, not to guide your answer in any way. Hopefully there's something else, but yeah.
This is really silly, but like having everything be like grammatically correct.
Oh, I love language.
You know, the people that are like will email you back and be like, you mean your
You've had people email you this?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Not like your
Yeah.
yeah. I wish that rule would die in people's hearts, because
I only do that if
as someone who's dyslexic, I will make a lot of like grammar mistakes. I don't see them. And I also don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Like that's not like a worthwhile like exchange.
I love
of,
this.
Like,
I love this answer.
yeah.
First of all, I only do that if the person is on like Facebook or Instagram being a dick.
Oh sure.
It's like
Yeah.
if you're gonna be annoying, at least do it correctly.
Sure. Yeah. I would support that.
I was watching a YouTube. So there's Hank Green.
I don't.
He's John Green's brother.
Oh,
John
cool.
Green, the writer.
Okay.
So Hank Green has a YouTube channel, and he does this thing where he like asks other YouTube personalities, or has them ask him questions, like any question.
Okay.
And I watched a video yesterday with Josh Schreier, I think his name. I don't know his name. Josh something. And he asked the question like, how correct should we be saying words from other languages in English, but like in an accent? So like, should you say spaghetti instead of spaghetti? You know what I mean? So like we fight or like pho.
Mm-hmm.
And like in English, if you read the word pho, it's just faux.
Right.
Like how like we are so hyper fixated on certain pronunciations or language and communication, when I think personally at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you understand what is being said.
I would support that statement 100%. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. When people get really nitty gritty about the pronunciation, it came up like last night actually, of like fillet or fillet.
Fillet. Yeah, fillet is like so British.
Yeah.
I feel like you should be able to make fun of people for that.
Yeah, my partner was like, "Hey, did you have enough fillet?" And I was like, "You mean fillet?"
Uh-huh.
And then he was like, no, it's fillet. I was like, okay. And then he looked it up and it was like, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was right.
So I think the British pronunciation, they say fillet.
Yeah.
Or like tortilla, like tortilla.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It's
as long as you understand what they're saying.
As long as you understand what they're saying.
Yeah,
it
you're
might
not
be
offending anybody.
It might be a little annoying to you. Or like
Yeah.
the other example they gave was gyro or
Mhm.
gyro or gyro.
Okay,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
food. A lot of it is based in food. But there's all sorts of words like that.
Yeah.
And I just think at the end of the day, like, it's important that you just understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that's being said is understood. Yeah.
As long as you're not being annoying.
Oh,
but
sure.
Like, also, like,
if someone has a stated preference and then you're like explicitly annoying it, well then fuck you. But like.
well, that's also what they said is like,
Yeah.
if it's people's names, you should say it how they want.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
should absolutely respect the way people want to be treated and stuff.
Yeah. But if it's just a couple of like white people arguing about filet versus fillet, then it's probably not a big deal.
That's so funny. Well, Hannah, I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else on your heart, on your mind, on your lips? I don't know what I'm saying. That's a really weird way to say that. That you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I appreciate everybody that's supported the Big Gay Market, and I've been getting a lot of like people who are like, you guys do events like all the time, and I think it's just because we're consistent. We do events like every 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they each have a theme. Which
Well, you
I
said
never
every
talked
2
about
months.
that.
Every 2 months. This next one is within 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, June, Pride, everything goes out the door. All the plans that we made for the year were just like, oh, okay. Pride wants to do an event, so I guess we have to do it.
Yeah.
No, wait, just kidding. We're lucky. But yeah, so, but I don't know. I think I keep worrying that like eventually people are gonna get bored of us and like stop showing up. But we're always keeping it fresh, and there's so much talent in this city. It blows me away as someone who gets to like go through it methodically and like select people for different events. I'm doing my best to make sure that people who deserve it are getting highlighted and getting elevated, and there's a huge popularity for us like on the vendor side. Like we get way too many applications. Like we don't have the capacity to like host events big enough to like have everybody that applies, but we're trying our best. We do like a lot of work to rotate and make sure that we are not like rejecting people repeatedly, just because I don't like it is a curated event, but I also see it as a community event. So I am definitely not trying to exclude anyone from that community if they are doing cool stuff and deserve to be there. So yeah.
All right. Thanks for answering. One last question. What question would you like to ask the next Third Space Indy guest?
Okay, I feel like I have to ask this because we're at the Art Center. And I would just really be interested to know people's answer, but what is something that you have, a new skill that you have had to leave your house to learn?
Oh, they're going to have a great answer for this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your answer?
I think we're out here doing it. When I started this podcast, I was unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something really it's really difficult to, one, be able to communicate your ideas, do it effectively, and do it in a way that compels people. And I've gotten a lot of practice doing that. At least I think I compel people on this podcast, which is like just sitting down and talking with someone, the art of conversation. And I do think it is an art. Mm-hmm. There are some people who are really hard to talk to, but you're not one of them. And being able to communicate your ideas and share with other people and tell stories in an effective way is something that I think I have had to leave my house and do this podcast to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
love it.
Great question. And I think they will enjoy the question as well.
Cool.
Hannah Hadley, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. If you want to be found, you or the Indy Gay Market want to be found, tell the people where to find you.
You can find lots of cool stuff on our website, indygaymarket.com. Super easy. We've got Instagram, Facebook for Indy Gay Market. You can find me online on Instagram. I'm Banana Punk 1.
Wait, where did that come from? I need to know.
Well, Hannah and Banana.
Hannah Banana, okay.
And then punk feels like the only descriptor word that I can vibe with because, I don't really know.
Hannah Punk 1.
Yeah. So.
And then Indy Gay Market is Indy Gay Market?
Yeah, it's just
on
Indy
Instagram?
Gay Market, yeah.
What's the website?
indygaymarket.com.
Perfect. And you said your email earlier, which is Hannah at...
Oh, yeah. Feel free to email me. I love
I'm sure
I
you
love an
get
old school email. Hannah at indygaymarket.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of Third Space Indy. You can find me by going to Third Space Indy on Instagram or by going to thirdspaceindy.com where I write a blog and show notes. You can also give me money if you want. I'm going to start saying that straight up.
You
This
should.
is hard work.
You can give Indy Gay Market money too.
You can give Indy Gay Market and the vendors that go, because you're a 501c3, you can donate. Let's go.
Yeah.
Donate to me or Indy Gay Market.
Probably him first.
Oh, I have another sponsor. Hey, I appreciate that. Third Space Indy is also sponsored by Proformus. Proformus is an urban planning and design firm that helps neighbors and communities shape the places they already love. Based in Indianapolis, they're here to help you make your place happen one block at a time. And thank you so much to City Rising also. And as always, thank you to the local artist Jennison for letting me use your song Scared Rabbit as the intro song. Thank you, Jennison. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for Hannah Hadley for coming on. We had a great morning. Thank you once again for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Scared rabbit, is the coast clear? Go grab it, you're gonna starve here. On your bed of death with one regret, but you never said.